This is John Sutter. I'm here with the Oklahoma Secretary of Energy, David Fleischaker. We're at the Oklahoma Wind Energy Conference. And Secretary, we just heard a lot about Oklahoma's wind power potential. What about policies? What policies that Oklahoma doesn't have in place now would help get us there?
Well, I think this is going to happen. We really don't need to. Policies really aren't the key at this point. The key is going to be financing, because we have a chicken and egg problem. And the chicken and egg problem is: do you have the wind farm first, or do you have the transmission first? And you've got investors on both sides involved in both kinds of projects, and they're stymied at present. So I think that the major challenge for the industry right now is finding the cash to build out transmission and to build out the farms. And until we get out of this national credit crisis, I think there's going to be a slowing of development. But within 2 years or so, as things level out and the markets really come back to a level that the money will free up, and we'll begin to see the development of those wind farms and the transmission. So it's not so much policy; it's more money. It's more about money.
And sort of in this, in these low economic times, there's been some talk of other coal-fired power plants in Oklahoma. Where do you see that going, or how does that compete or supplement wind planning?
I don't know where the planning is right now for coal, for a new coal-fired plant in Oklahoma. I know that PSO is planning to acquire coal, some coal energy from a plant that's built maybe either in Arkansas or in Texas. I'm not sure what their source is. We call that coal by wire. So that the plant actually, as I understand it, is not going to be located in Oklahoma, but there may be electricity generated by a new coal plant that is brought into Oklahoma by PSO. The utilities and all these electric companies face a challenge, and that is that they need sources of base load power. Wind is not a base load power. It's on again, it's off again, depending on whether the wind blows. But people need electricity at all times during the day. So we have to find a source of base load power, and that source is either going to be nuclear or coal, sometimes gas, typically not gas. And that really is the challenge that our utilities face. How do they source their base load power for the future? There are no simple answers, there are no good answers. Coal has its advocates. There are real significant concerns with coal because of the CO2 emissions. Nuclear has its advocates. There are concerns about nuclear because both of the security problems and more imminent, the waste disposal issues. So no simple solutions for finding new baseload power for the state or for the nation.
And you mentioned this briefly earlier, but the transmission line, sort of the grid needed to transmit wind power. Where is that right now, and where does it need to be to make wind power a big thing here in Oklahoma?
Well, if you look at the grid in Oklahoma, there's not much transmission going west of Woodward out to Guyman, as an example. But one of the best things that is happening is that OG&E is building a 345, which is a high voltage line from Oklahoma City out to Woodward. And that will help harvest some of that wind power out there. But there needs to be further expansion of the grid. We heard a lot about that today. I think one of the good things that's going to happen with the new Obama administration is that there's going to be a huge emphasis on building out transmission infrastructure. So I think that we can look forward to seeing a large grid build out in western Oklahoma over the next 5 to 10 years.
And you said earlier it's $1 million a mile, is that?
Transmission today costs about $1 million a mile.
Who's going to pay for that?
Well, if it's built within the SPP, it's really spread across the entire region. The SPP consists of several states: Kansas, part of Texas, Oklahoma, part of Missouri, part of Arkansas, and Louisiana. So the ratepayers within that region will share the costs to build out that transmission. And the reason that's fair is because the consumers in all of those regions will benefit from that power that comes from those wind farms. I mean, electricity doesn't travel from point A to point B. The electricity that's generated in Oklahoma really may end up increasing consumption, or may end up increasing the availability of electricity in Kansas or in Missouri or in Arkansas. It's like, consider a bathtub. You put in water in the bathtub and the whole level rises. That's the way it is with electric generation. You build a plant, you put those electrons into the grid, and the entire grid, the level of electricity in the entire grid increases, so that a wind farm out in Guyman, Oklahoma benefits ratepayers or users in Kansas City, Kansas, just as it does in Woodward or in Oklahoma City. So for that reasons, we spread those costs across the entire region.